Hello. Today we're going to present to you our business project for the NGO El Camí de la Solidaridad. We'll start off our presentation with some background information on the organization and we'll define the scope and objectives of our project. Then we'll dive into our market analysis. We'll elaborate on our literature review. Then we'll walk you through our methodology for gathering insights for this project and we'll discuss our findings. And finally, the heart of the topic, we'll explain our recommendations in detail for El Cami going forward. So first, a bit of general information. El Camí de la Solidaridad, which translates from Spanish to the Path of Solidarity, was created 10 years ago as a nonprofit by Roger Sola Martinez. Based in Barcelona, the NGO's purpose, according to their mission statement, is to promote and defend social transformations while incorporating a gender lens. They have a team of over 40 people from different nationalities and have partnered on over 10 projects already, providing a positive impact to over 3,000 people. Alchemy is currently building new capabilities, mainly to increase their network. They have already received grants from the likes of KPMG and Google for nonprofit. Their goal ultimately is to become a social accelerator to help NGOs worldwide increase their impact. Our project scope is to assist our client in the transition from an NGO to an NGO accelerator/incubator. We set out to do this by carrying an in-depth analysis of the current landscape for NGO accelerators and incubators and NGOs, assessing their capabilities and business models, which resulted in a holistic understanding of the challenges experienced by these organizations in their operations and enabled us to formulate well-documented recommendations for Alchemy's revised business model. To quickly touch on a project timeline, we started by defining the aforementioned scope with our client to understand the task ahead and more effectively split the task between us. We then started off with the literature review and the market analysis. Then we designed and sent out surveys to NGOs and NGO accelerators and incubators. This data, once analyzed and made sense of, then informed the reflection for our recommendations.
Our first step in analyzing the market is to build a framework to classify NGO accelerators and incubators, which is divided into 6 parts: nature and age of the NGOs accelerators and incubators, selection criteria of the NGOs, length and intensity of the program, stage and geographical focus of the NGOs.
Before mapping the NGO accelerator and incubator markets, we'd like to firstly explain some major differences between them. Both programs help create organizations and prepare them to enter the market. Their services overlap, but the specific goals and priorities of them can vary. Some major distinctions are included in the table here. We collected information of 78 NGO accelerator and incubators and summarized their major products and services into 6 categories based on the nature of collaborations. We'd like to introduce the target clients of NGOs, accelerator, and incubators in the next slide, but before that, we want to make some explanation for some common terms that always appear nowadays. Not-for-profit refers to an organization whose activities do not serve the financial interest of an individual or board of directors, or simply saying, not about the money. Charity is one type of not-for-profit. The major differences between not-for-profit and charity is that to be eligible for registration as a charity, an organization's objective must correspond to those that the law recognizes as charitable. NGOs or non-government organization also runs on a not-for-profit basis and is totally independent from the control of the government. Social enterprise is kind of different from the 3 above due to its profit-earning nature. It operates for social good and expected to generate a positive social impact. Currently, the target clients of NGO accelerator and incubators include independent grassroots projects, social enterprises, and most importantly, NGOs.
The third part of market analysis is accelerators and incubators impact measurement. The measurement problem of assessing the impact of accelerators and incubators on the market is often related to the social outcomes, which are the result of multiple factors that cannot be solely attributed to one agency or group. To overcome this challenge, we use outcome mapping to measure accelerators and incubators' social return on investment step by step.
There are some pathways from support activities to startup success. From the graph on the left, it can be concluded that startup assistance may directly and indirectly influence final startup success through intermediate results. The program's direct funding access and help with team formations appear to have a number of positive effects on company success. Different assistants have a direct impact on the desired results. For instance, access to coaching does not appear to be mediated, but nevertheless has a sizable direct influence on outcome factors. We think these findings could be relevant and helpful for Alchemy because NGO accelerators and incubators can focus on specific services and be specialized to help NGOs achieve specific goals. And for NGOs, they can search for programs and accelerators and incubators targeting on their specific needs. Finally, it's also convenient for organizations to trace the reasons behind underperforming outcomes. In the next two slides, to specifically measure the impacts of NGO accelerators and incubators, we collected the impact statistics of some NGO accelerators and incubators from their impact reports and annual reports. Currently, the major benefits accelerator and incubators bring about include three categories: organizational level benefit, social level benefit, and project and support level benefit. In the next two slides, we'd like to bring you into the computation analysis. Firstly, we'd like to introduce some background information of the market. Currently, there are many different organizations competing in the market for accelerators, both for-profit and non-profit. Since NGOs are often more concerned with achieving social goals than increasing profit, it's uncommon for a for-profit accelerator to target NGOs as their primary clients, but some for-profit accelerators collaborate with NGOs on certain programs or projects that are in line with their own corporate goals. There are several other emerging NGO accelerators and incubators. These include regional accelerators that operate in certain geographic locations, as well as niche accelerators that concentrate on particular issues, areas like Fast Forward, who focus on tech nonprofits only. The NGO accelerator and incubator market is also shaped by several trends. Firstly, NGO accelerator and incubators are increasingly concentrating on impact rather than just expansions. This indicates that they are seeking to help NGOs which have a measurable and sustainable influence on their target communities. Secondly, NGOs, accelerators, and incubators are collaborating with other organizations, including corporations and government agencies. Thirdly, in order to assist NGOs enhancing their operations and effects, accelerators and incubators are increasingly embracing technology such as data analytics and artificial intelligence. To evaluate how different organizations participate in the market, we studied 5 accelerator and incubators business model, products and services, marketing strategies, pricing, target markets, how they specialize, and other key areas. The results have been summarized in a SWOT analysis here. A detailed SWOT analysis for each organization is also included in the Appendix 3. In this section, we will walk you through some academic literature that help us to proceed 3 most important parts of the project: industrial analysis, capability approach, and business revenue model. Firstly, we use 5 series to guide market analysis from 3 different aspects. When mapping the market, we use resource dependency theory and blue ocean strategy. Resource dependency theory states that organizations depend on resources which are a basis of power. This theory helps us to investigate how accelerator and incubator programs can affect NGO operations and results. In our survey, we also test if power is one of the major concerns that NGOs face while working with external resources. Blue Ocean strategy encourages NGOs, accelerators, and incubators to create new market spaces and focus on generating new demand rather than competing with existing players. This strategy is relevant to NGO accelerators and incubators in the same sector, as it helps them to identify untapped market opportunities and develop innovative solutions. When we conduct market competition analysis, we use SWOT analysis to evaluate organizations' competitive position. To measure the accelerator and incubator impact, we used stakeholder theory and outcome mappings. Stakeholder theory states that an organization should make decisions that consider the demands and interests of all stakeholders. So we use this to investigate how accelerator and incubators connect, communicate with, and how they impact different stakeholders, such as NGOs, social enterprises, founders, mentors, and the larger social sectors. Outcome mapping is a methodology used for planning, monitoring, and evaluating development initiatives. Its purpose is to measure sustainable social change for NGO accelerator and incubator step by step.
Capacity development is considered to be a long-term, endogenous process of developing sustainable abilities on all levels: the individual, the organization, the institution, and the system level. This is applicable to NGOs in three ways. First, because nonprofits work across all levels, from local stakeholders to system-wide issues. Second, because measures taken by those in leadership roles need critical evaluation. And third, because of its focus on sustainable long-term development. It is necessary to ensure a balance between the leadership and the management of an NGO. Leadership is the set of activities required to articulate an organization's vision, while management is the set of activities to ensure that an organization will reliably produce results. There are two steps to using the capability approach. First, achieving strategic clarity. This can be done with two questions. What impact are we prepared to be held accountable for, and what do we need to do and not do in order to achieve this impact? Second, operationalizing. First, the actions of an organization must be repeated, not a one-time thing. Second, they need to occur across different levels of impact. Third, may seem unwieldy, but the results are feasible. Fourth, leave the prioritization of basic capabilities to those on the ground, ensuring respect for their agency.
We will now be taking you through the business model and focusing on the revenue model aspect as part of this project scope. The diagram on the left indicates a social investing spectrum ranging from traditional charities to traditional commerce. This indicates that social entrepreneurships can get their revenue from several streams. The high-volume, low-cost model provides services to many organizations for a small fee. Differential pricing and cross-subsidization models are based on changing their pricing according to what customers can afford. Buy one, give one refers to donating the same for every charitable purchase. The grant or charity-based model seeks donations completely, and on the contrast, hybrid models provide services for for-profit and not-for-profit companies alike. Having discussed the different revenue models, we can see that they can get their sources of funding from different areas, which could range from other NGOs to government grants to private sector, bank and investment funds, or even from individuals such as angel investors or philanthropists. To the right, we see a suggested distribution model where Alchemy can choose to either provide their services to the beneficiaries directly or partner with potential people on the ground. By partnering with an intermediary organization, it would allow them to leverage existing networks and relationships, which will help them enter communities that they do not have access to just yet.
Now for the methodology section. We began our research by creating an index of 81 NGOs and 78 accelerators/incubators around the world, although most have an emphasis on helping the Global South as requested by Alchemy. We followed all ethical procedures, and we included surveys with multiple choice questions and other valid forms. Our surveys included Likert matrices, where respondents indicated the significance of various issues on a scale from 1 to 5. They were especially reliable because they enabled the assessment of multiple factors in a single question. The surveys included open-ended discussions to gather qualitative data. The surveys also included different paths based on previous responses, so questions were appropriately tailored to their respondent. Despite our best efforts, our research was limited by a low response rate for both surveys. We contacted NGOs through public email addresses, LinkedIn, and via phone calls. However, most ignored our attempts. This sampling fault increases the risk of non-response bias. However, the survey responses provide some reliability since they cover such a broad range of NGOs and NGO accelerators. We received responses from organizations addressing every issue, with unpaid workers and paid staff, in-person and virtual operations, and operating across every continent, but mostly Africa and Asia. In this way, the responses can be used under the reliability of stratified random sampling, since the sample group are representative of the larger sector, despite the low response rate. We shortlisted relevant experts for interviews and conducted due diligence on each organization in order to keep our questions relevant. All interviewees were read a script before their questioning began. We provided background on ourselves and our project, including what we were hoping to achieve, and we made sure they were aware that their responses would remain confidential and only reviewed by the research team. We also asked for permission for one of our team members to take notes throughout, which was always granted. The use of the organization's logos was also always granted. The interviewee was informed that they were under no obligation to answer each question and they could skip at any time, and this was never used. The interviews were largely valid and reliable. Our interviewees covered a diverse range of organizations and roles, from Armenia to Ukraine, and from Southeast Asia to Uganda, Kenya, and Tanzania. This range means we spoke with organizations from concentrated local efforts to the largest humanitarian organization in the world. Each interviewee was open and forthcoming about their operations and business model. The only possible limitation would be the observer expectancy effect, where our biases subconsciously directed the interviewees to provide a specific response. We were aware of this and did our best to standardize the questions and carefully consider follow-up queries.
As part of our research, we sent out 2 sets of surveys. First, to NGO accelerator and incubators, and second, to NGOs themselves. While serving the accelerators and incubators, it was found that NGOs face issues ranging from funding to bureaucracy to workforce-related problems. As a result of this, the areas they focused on providing assistance with were related to funding and strategic planning. NGOs dealing with environmental, poverty, gender and education-related issues were the kinds that received the most help from accelerators and incubators. These accelerators and incubators most commonly had a combination of having an online presence as well as people on the ground, and for their own organizations, they faced funding, scaling, staffing, and business model sustainability-related issues. The findings from surveying the NGOs themselves had some corresponding answers. Shortage of finances and workforce emerged as their top 2 challenges. 33% of our sample felt the risk of ending of operations within the next 5 years. A large number indicated heavy workload and showed an inclination to seek for external help. Based on the graph depicted, we can see that there is a significant willingness for NGOs to work with accelerators and incubators, and all these data points indicate that there is a gap for LCAMI to fill. It was interesting to note, however, that only 8% of the organizations were familiar with the concept of an accelerator and an incubator, which poses an awareness issue for LCAMI.
Now for our interview findings. This map shows how we interviewed organizations with established operations in 12 plus countries. AGBU provided key insights into the sacrifices of operating with a hybrid model. Nonprofits thrive on emotional connection that is difficult to replicate online. Although it is necessary to be hybrid in this day and age, it is important to conduct some work in person. Another takeaway was the difficulty of connecting with like-minded NGOs. AGBU would benefit from a network where they could contact with similar nonprofits. AGBU also described the information gap present where nonprofits don't know where or how to get grants. The Women's Microfinance Initiative has run for 15 years and provided over 80,000 loans to women in East Africa. WMI reiterated key points about the importance of working on the ground, in person. The nonprofit also highlighted the importance of focusing on a cause from a bottom-up approach. It is necessary to identify an actual local problem that is being neglected, instead of looking for mission from the top down. They also expressed the need to be reliable, especially when working with women who are used to facing inconsistent, misogynistic bureaucracy. AAT is established in Southeast Asia to protect and rehabilitate victims of sexual violence and human trafficking. They have rescued and supported over 8,400 women and children and have staff all over the world. AAT contributed to our study by emphasizing the difficulties of the fundraising process. They could use assistance from an accelerator in finding what grants are available and learning what decisions to make in the application process that increases their chances of success. We also learned from them about the difficulty in retaining talent against competing NGOs. This member of the World Food Programme in Ukraine shed a light on the steps taken by NGOs operating towards wartime relief goals. We learned of the importance of local organizations since they are more aware of the relevant information on the ground. The WFP also showed us the importance of communication. Even with a global spotlight on the war, the world's largest humanitarian organization needs to speak with the media to keep donations coming. Bridge for Billions is an established global accelerator. A representative also told us about the importance of partnering with local organizations upon entering a new country. Bridge for Billions also demonstrated the importance of a digital platform capable of supporting clients through the end-to-end process, from applications to one-to-one mentoring sessions and bi-weekly NGO network workshops. We also learned of the importance of handpicking your intake, not just taking a set monthly amount of organizations. This consultant at the WFP in Syria has worked with accelerators and NGOs in the past, as well as in grants and external affairs teams. We learned about the need to specialize, in particular as a young organization. This is because of the fierce competition Alchemy will face. They will need to distinguish themselves from other accelerators with a lot more money by demonstrating effectiveness. This is most possible when working towards one goal. The WFP has learned that the first cohort is important, and it is crucial to handpick this group, even if you bring in as low as 4 in your first year. He also shared with us the importance of spending on communication, providing end-to-end support, and developing KPIs.
Finally, we also interviewed a startup accelerator in order to gain more perspective on the business model side of accelerated programs. Raising AI is a French startup accelerator focused on deep tech startups. The key points that we got out of this interview were the importance of expertise, experience, and network in order for accelerators to provide the best value to their client, no matter if they are for-profit startups or NGOs. Then, regarding the viable business models for startup accelerators, they often revolve around subscription-based flat fee per year, as well as dilutive and non-dilutive fundings from VCs and local institutions, what we'll touch on later in our recommendations.
While this might be a large organizational change, we believe that if Alchemy is serious about this transition to becoming an NGO accelerator or incubator, it is important to narrow its focus to one of these 3 causes, at least for now. This will help Alchemy, first, develop a deep area of expertise, build a stronger network that can share more relevant lessons with each other, recruit top prospective NGOs aligned in this respective field, demonstrate effectiveness, which is needed if it wants to build brand recognition and gain a high reputation, provide Alchemy with a clear mission. Ultimately, these will all devote resources towards one goal, leading to increased overall impact. This decision is needed if Alchemy wishes to become as effective as possible. It needs to specialize its focus. This can be liberating, not limiting, as there is a lot of variety within each of these fields, as described in our interviews. Focusing on gender can mean helping with women's health, education, financial empowerment, anti-trafficking, and other serious causes. Building towards climate goals can work towards renewable energy, sustainable agriculture, or waste removal. Socioeconomic mobility can include projects working towards affordable housing, job training, financial literacy, and many other crucial needs. Alchemy can, at some point, assist organizations focused on these other causes. However, this should wait until Alchemy has developed its reputation as an effective NGO accelerator, and in order to do so, specialization is needed in the meantime.
Here are a few ways Alchemy can accentuate their offerings. By defining their core package, they can go one step beyond their specialization by choosing NGOs in a specific location to establish themselves. By investing more in their online platform, they can create a larger network and provide holistic support to their NGOs. By fostering local leadership and tailoring their services to the local population, they can connect the NGOs to experts that already exist and work from a more bottom-up approach. Based on the overall findings, we suggest that as an accelerator or incubator, Alchemy could focus on funding and bureaucracy-related problems. Grants was a common theme that occurred across interviews, and staffing was a concurrent issue as well. By focusing on these specific areas within the larger problems, we believe that there is room for Alchemy to make a significant impact. To support this, we believe that Alchemy should operate via a hybrid mode of being present online as well as in person, and by creating live training modules and connecting with people on the ground, they can truly make a difference. Based on our discussions with the Alchemy team members throughout this project, we believe it is helpful to provide them with 3 revenue model options. First is a grant-based model, which is completely reliant on non-dilutive funding from governments, organizations, and individuals. Second is a subscription-based model wherein NGOs pay Alchemy a small membership fee, giving them access to a network, in addition to the services Alchemy can provide them on a retainer basis. This would tie in with the high-volume, low-cost revenue model. Third is a hybrid model where Alchemy could provide its services to for-profit and non-for-profit companies alike. By following a differential pricing method, they could use the money they gain to help NGOs at a subsidized rate.
As part of our recommendations, we have looked into various possible collaboration channels for Alchemy, which we have categorized into 5 categories. These categories including collaboration with universities, corporations, other accelerators or incubators, pre-accelerators, and the government. For each of these channels, we have provided examples such as StartX, which is supported by Stanford University, GiveLife 365, which is supported by Microsoft, as well as 2 NGO accelerators, Fast Forward and Echoing Green, who together have helped an Indian tech nonprofit organizations. Additionally, we have identified Startup WiseGuys, a pre-accelerator that helps companies to get up to speed so that they can successfully apply for full-time accelerator programs. Through our interviews, we have discovered that collaborating with the government requires good communication skills to deal with unpredictable government behavior. Next, I will discuss the limitations and challenges we faced during our research. Our focus was intentionally on the Global South as required by Alchemy, but we also found valuable examples from NGO accelerators and incubators serving the Global North. The lack of a comprehensive and authoritative data source for NGO accelerator and incubators posed a major challenge for us, and we may have missed some accelerators, particularly in Latin American countries, where English is not the official language. Our research is timely and subject to changes in the industry, so constant monitoring is necessary to ensure its usefulness. Finally, implementation limitation may affect our recommendations despite our best efforts to be comprehensive. Thank you for listening. We would like to extend our gratitude to all those who took the time to contribute to our research, as well as to Nadia, Roger, and Ignacy for their valuable assistance throughout the entire process.